Greetings and welcome to Growth Hacking Secrets. I'm your host, Mohammed Siddique from Atlanta, Georgia, and the co author of New Success Secrets available on Amazon. On this episode, we have a special guest, Dr. Drumm McNaughton. Drumm is the host of Changing Higher Ed podcast. Please join me to give a warm welcome to our guest, Dr. Drumm McNaughton.
Thank you,
Drumm,
Siddique.
thank you so much. Appreciate the time together. Let me start with this. Where were you? What happened? Who you were surrounded with that inspired you to start changing higher ed?
Well, it's a long story, and we've got not a whole lot of time to talk about it. But basically, I flew airplanes and spied on people in the Navy. I got out of the Navy. I started doing consulting because there were no jobs available. I worked with Dell for a couple of years as their e-commerce manager. I worked with Computer Sciences Corporation doing consulting work with them, and I really enjoyed it. At one point, I went back to get my master's and my doctorate. Trying to consult on organizational issues as a physics major really doesn't work too well. People go, this is not quantum mechanics, this is about people. And so going back and then working in higher ed, I discovered my love of teaching and helping others. And that's why I ended up getting into higher education. And then doing the podcast was just a natural outcome, being able to leverage my consulting business to bring on experts in certain areas so that we can help higher education leaders become smarter about the different areas of expertise. I mean, for example, the next guest that I have that we're going to be releasing the podcast is Ted Mitchell, who is the president of the American Council of Education, was the Undersecretary of Policy at the Department of Education for President Obama. I mean, that's going to be a fabulous podcast. And those are the kind of guests we like to have on.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, is it okay if I ask you some tough questions so people get to know you and you learn from your experience?
Absolutely not. I only want softballs.
Okay.
Sure, fire away.
So, Drumm, what are the top 3 missteps to avoid at in higher education institutions?
Well, I would have to say that my all-time worst is speaking while I'm angry. When you get angry, you lose perspective. And more than likely, when you're angry about something inside yourself. It's not about what the other person is doing. And so speaking out when you're angry is probably one of the stupidest things that I've ever done, and it's gotten me in more trouble than anything else, not only in business, but with my wife as well.
You are admitting it publicly. That happens at almost virtually every married home. So
it does. And being married and working with clients, it's like having a giant mirror in front of you. What comes out of your mouth gets reflected back to you almost immediately. And so if you can use these situations, whether it be with your family, your kids, your clients, whatever, as learning experiences for you, that's a great growth tool.
Okay, that's one. We need 2 more.
Okay. Well, the other one is assuming. And we all know what assume means. It's making a out of you and me. When you assume something with a person, you're really projecting your own bias, your own thoughts onto that person. Much better to have that dialogue, that conversation with the person to understand where they're really coming from, what's important to them, and try and work through from that perspective. The third of those is not doing your research on the issues. I mean, if I go into a consulting client and I just assume, there's that word again, what's going on without having done my research on what their issues are that they're truling, I could give them a solution that is not going to work for them. And my job as a consultant is to help make them better, however I can do that. There's three for you. Don't ask me anymore. I don't have any other mistakes. No, I'm just kidding.
Wonderful. Drumm, you worked in the Navy, then went into this master's and PhD, and then started a consulting. And I'm saying this is a path you probably have failed at least a few times, if not a lot more than time. So, do you mind sharing a single most professional failure you had in your life? What did you learn from it, and how did you recover from that?
Well, it really has to do with speaking while you're angry. It's one of those things that when you do it, as soon as those words are out of your mouth, you can't take them back. No. And I remember one time, it was back in the Navy, high operational tempo. We were flying a lot. And one of my bosses said something, and I just immediately fired back at her. And I was like, as soon as I said it, and I walked out of the office, it was like, Drumm, that was really stupid. And the only way to come back from something like that is to just apologize. Yeah. It's not, when you get angry, again, it's not about them. It's about something in yourself. And you need to learn how to deal with that so that you can keep your emotions, not your feelings, but your emotions in check.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So when you say immediately apologize, so is it unconditional apology, or if you are offended, then I apologize, like if and buts thing?
No. A conditional apology is a waste of breath and time. If you're truly sorry, you need to apologize for it. If you're not, just live with the consequences. A lot of times people will go out there and they will say, oh yeah, I apologize, but they don't mean it. And the person to whom you're apologizing knows when you don't mean it. If you really want to have a relationship with that person, if it's someone you want to be able to work with going forward, you both need to be honest. Both people need to own up to their actions, but the one who reacts first is the one who can help the healing best.
Yeah, this is good. This is good. Drumm, let's switch the side to a success secrets. So what are your top 3 success secrets? Please promise you are going to give us your best ones, okay?
Oh, I always give you my best ones, and they may change from minute to minute.
Okay.
So I think my first one, has to go with exactly what we were talking about before, is, keep an even mind, keep an even temperament. It's not all about you. Although, most humans think, oh, this person did this and they meant to hurt me. It's like, no, that person probably didn't even think about how it might hurt you. So, keep an even temperament and don't take things personally. Okay. Second, treat people like you want to be treated. I mean, you can see, in the Bible talks about that type of thing, an eye for an eye, whatever. If you go for an eye, then everybody ends up being blinded. That's stupid. So treat people as you want. My father used to have a saying, treat people nicely on the way up because you're going to see them on the way down. So one of those things that, you want to treat people like you want to be treated. And I think the last one is you got to keep a sense of humor. You see me joking about things, and it's not like I'm a frivolous person by any means, but I just have learned to laugh at myself. I realize that if I look at it from a spiritual perspective, which I do, am I the one really doing all these actions? No, if I'm doing it properly, it's the divine work, whether you call it God, you call it Muhammad, you call him Jesus, whatever. It's that person working through you. And the best way that I found to do all of those things is to have an active meditation practice. And, you may call it meditation in one discipline, you may call it contemplation, deep prayer, whatever, but that meditation, that willingness to touch yourself and go inside and quiet yourself, that helps you with all of those other things.
Mm-hmm. Just on a side note, I appreciate that very much. Side note, having a PhD, when you are coming on a show, I'm just being honestly and openly say, oh my God, I'm going to interview a PhD. I'm miles away from a PhD from my knowledge. So, how you make that so smooth, it makes it so easy. So any lessons for other people who are not a PhD when they're interacting with the PhD on the other side? Any kind of minimize the gap? How to do it?
Be yourself. Be yourself. If someone has to say, I'm a PhD, that means they don't really have confidence in their own abilities, in their own thoughts. When somebody, we used to have a saying in the Navy, the minute you go like this and say, I'm a commander, I'm a lieutenant commander, I outrank you,
Yeah.
you've lost it right there. Leadership is about respect. It's not position. Part of it's positional respect, but a lot of it is respect for what your actions are. I mean, we've seen a lot of folks in the very recent past who like to say, I'm a senator or whatever, and I can do this. But do they really have the respect of the people that they're leading? I would say no.
Yeah, yeah. So when we're dealing about this respect and all, you're dealing with the higher eds. So there's a lot of politics and ego, and when you're dealing in a consulting role, how you navigate that successfully?
Well, it's not about me.
Yeah.
I am there to make an institution work better. I'm there to help a leader be better. So is there anything in those two statements about me? No. When I do my job best, I am behind the scenes whispering into that leader's ear saying, you might want to consider XYZ. They're the person who's out front. They're the ones who have to develop the respect of their followers and make the tough decisions. I'm just there as a guide on the side, as a coach to help them.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Drumm, how the growth hacking secrets community, people who are watching this now, can support you?
Well, thank you. I appreciate your asking that. I'm always looking for clients who need help. I'm looking for great podcast guests. I mean, you heard me talk about one of them, Ted Mitchell, and I've got a host of others. We've done over 70 podcasts at this point with top leaders in higher education. So always looking for podcast guests. And I'm always looking for that next college who would really like to be able to take a university, take it to that next level, whether it be in accreditation, whether it be in board governance, strategy, implementation, change management, recovering from a crisis, transforming, board governance. I mean, we work in multiple areas, and there's a lot of ways that we can help an institution grow and get better. So thank you for asking. I appreciate that.
Yeah, the website is changinghighered.com. You mentioned about guests. Let me say it publicly. I'm going to highly recommend my mentor and business partner, Recluse Billionaire. He owns 48 businesses and 160 miles of beachfront properties in the US and around the world, and now is building a safe city in Tennessee, like no riots of like this. He is great in helping, because in the last 12 months, higher education has changed drastically, almost in 180 angle, because that may never be the new old normal ever,
No.
So he has a lot of ideas. I would say he would be a great guest for you. That's
Thank you.
That will be a great start, and we will take it from there onward.
That would be great. Thank you for passing that information on to me.
Yeah, wonderful. The changinghighered.com. That's the website. You want to check that out and listen to Drumm ongoing basis. This is just an introduction to Drumm, so keep listening to him. It's a level of clarity. It's not about him. It's want to help you to take to the next level. So Drumm, we are about to wrap up. I like to ask this question to almost every guest as I get a kind of testimonial for the being a guest experience on the show. What would you say about your today's guest experience on a Growth Hacking Secret show?
Well, I would have to say that you have definitely challenged me, Siddique. You made me think about things that I haven't thought about in a long time, and I am really glad that you had me take some notes ahead of time so I didn't look like an idiot on your airtime.
Thank you for your kind words. I really appreciate it. Drumm, what would you say as a final word?
Final word, I could be really flippant. I graduated from the Naval Academy, and so I could be really flippant and say beat Army. But, the final word is just remember, we're all in this together. We're all in this together. The COVID has made people change. There's always a great lesson in that. And like that saying goes, make lemonade out of lemons. You may not have liked some of the situations you've been in, but you're there for your own growth. Take advantage of that and come out the other side as a better version of you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Drumm, for sharing your wisdom with us today on the behalf of Growth Hacking Secrets community and our entire team. We really appreciate you. This is Mohammed Siddique signing off from Atlanta, Georgia. Until the next episode, all good wishes.
Thank you